Run the damn football. YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And there are so many teams right now that are just not running the football nearly enough. They're abandoning the run. They're becoming predictable. It's losing them football games. And to clear something up, I'm not a big run the football guy. You need to be a pass first team. You need to be mainly built to pass, especially in today's era. But you can't be one-dimensional. You have to run the football to stay unpredictable, and I can't believe the amount of teams. We're going to break it down. I'm going to rip some teams here. It seems like an every week thing. Week 7 this week, it was the worst it's ever been, so we're going to break it down here every game like we do every Monday. Join us for our weekly picks, power rankings, score predictions, and a lot more. Rookie rankings, trade deadline videos coming out like crazy. More going to come out, so join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Anything that interests you on the screen right now, Twitter definitely should. Picks League, sponsors GLD Shop. You see I'm rocking their Micah Parsons chain, Liquid IV. Any of those things, links pinned in the comments as always. Real quick, on a Thursday night game, way more scoring than I expected. I think anyone expected. This game, it was actually quite a few games like that this week where it was, I don't know if the score actually showed how close it was. Like the Saints could have won this game despite getting their ass beat, 42-24. They could have won this game. They were moving the ball very easily on the Cardinals, who usually have a pretty stout defense. Olave was having a pretty good game. But then they kind of would just choke at the wrong time. Credit the Cardinals defense for making plays, but 2 pick sixes is the difference in this one. Cardinals seem to figure something out offensively in the end. They insist on passing a little bit too much. I mean, they had a big lead, and it's kind of their offense, that spread offense though. But you got to start running the ball a little bit more to secure it. But they kind of did. Benjamin had some good runs. Keontae Ingram had some good runs. But yeah, maybe they figured something out in offense. But I think what sparked them was the 2 pick sixes, one by Marco Wilson and one by Isaiah Simmons. So good plays there. The Saints beat up, sloppy. Defense is most certainly not the same. It's weird because Dennis Allen, I know, is now the head coach, but he was their defensive coach before as well. This defense shouldn't be like Matthew isn't right. Just doesn't seem like a fit in the Saints defense. It's just, and they have injuries. Missing Lattimore is just absolutely massive, and then Roby got hurt at some point, but not much of a pass rush either. So I don't know what's going on there with the Saints. They got to get healthy. They got to figure something out because that division is very winnable. The Cardinals, much needed to win. Clutch plays on defense. And good to get Hopkins back in there. They got him going late in the game. Murray missed him on a couple throws, but got him going in this one. So that's a much-needed game for the Cardinals. Saints got to figure it out. On to the Sunday slate of games, the Bengals. Bengals looking like they're back. I should say maybe. It really feels like that, though. But the reason I say maybe is because it's kind of what I said was going to happen. Honestly, going into last week against the Saints, I'm like, this is where they figure it out. They're going to play a man coverage team here in the Saints, and the Bengals feast off the man coverage. And I had the Bengals scoring 30. They went and scored 30. And here we go. They playing the Falcons. I'm like, the Falcons also like to play man coverage. I feel very confident about the Bengals offense getting going in this game. They have the strengths to beat up the Falcons. They're missing a corner in Casey Hayward. Terrell ended up getting hurt. And they had extreme success, even more than expected, on the Falcons. So, and you just kind of get the feeling, that they're really figuring things out, and they look like a really good football. They look like the last year Bengals. But again, why I say maybe is like how will they be against more of the teams built to play against them? More of the zone coverage teams. Different matchups, because the 2 last matchups definitely did favor. Like they should win those games. They should, and they went out and executed. There's a lot of teams that should win games, and they cannot execute. So definitely credit to the Bengals here, and it feels like they're kind of back in a way. They're kind of getting going here. I think people were overreacting to them, struggling a little bit early, but I would like to see them go out and play this dominant against teams that, run a little bit more zone. They play the Browns on Monday Night Football this week. That's a pretty good matchup there to see what the Bengals are about here. They're going to run a little bit more zone coverage. They got a pretty solid pass rush. But I like the Bengals. I think they're doing great things right now. Boyd was a monster right out the gate in this one. And they got Jamar Chase going kind of later. T. Higgins had a nice touchdown where he extended for the end zone. They got the whole crew going right now with the receiver group, and that's when it's clicking. When you kind of have everybody as a problem, and Mixon's effective, not a whole bunch of carries, and then Burrow was lights out in this game as well. And their defense did their part I think the offense kind of created some better defense, because if you get such a good lead and you start off that hot, opposing offenses become predictable. They got to be in the comeback position, position where you have to throw the ball. So made it a little easier on the Bengals defense, who's pretty solid defense as well. But the Falcons, just how you started on this one. They ran out of corners too, so that's pretty tough. Too much man coverage, definitely too much. You got to be able to switch it up. I know it's kind of been working for them, but you got to be able to switch it up when you're playing a matchup like this. Definitely need a guy like Cordero Patterson in this game too, so it's unfortunate they don't have him. But I keep saying it, Mariota's got to give Pitts some chances. Got to throw it up. You see him kind of looking at him, but then maybe he's too covered. But got to give him an opportunity. You got to start taking some shots here. Throw the ball up. That's one guy where you can get away with it, So, I'm not saying do it constantly, but, disappointing one for the Falcons. They kind of seem like, they could put together a winning streak, but even, in some of those games, they kind of feel like there's 1 week, regardless of win or loss, there's 1 week where I'm like, the Falcons are a pretty good freaking team here. And then there's next week where it's like, it's kind of the Falcons, even if they, they escape the Browns, they win that game. I was kind of one where I was like, yeah, Browns probably should have won that game. I don't know if I'm thrilled with the Falcons. They got to win, but there's wins like the Seahawks and last week against the Niners where I'm like, all right, the Falcons are pretty good. So it seems like it's kind of like back and forth. Like this one a little bit of a mess, obviously. Bengals. It's good to see the Bengals playing like the last year Bengals. See if they can continue a big one against the Browns this week, despite the Browns' record not looking that good. Lions and Cowboys. Another one of those games where it probably, in a way, it was kind of closer than the score showed. It definitely was 24-6. Like the Lions had a shot in this game. But at the same time, when you can't really score points, it's hard to say they had a shot. At the same time, it's like they were close. If Jamal Williams doesn't fumble on the 1 yard line, they take the lead right there, and it's a whole different ball game. So in that way, you can say, the score probably looks a lot different. I'm not saying the Lions would have won. Not saying that, but. It's kind of the point of it. It could have been a lot closer, a lot different if one thing went differently. But at the same time, if you can't find ways to put more points up on the board, score touchdowns, then you most certainly aren't deserving of being in the game. So the Cowboys take care of business. Their defense is just ridiculous. We knew that. And they presented a lot of problems for the Lions. It's 2 back-to-back games. Shouldn't say 2 weeks in a row because they had a bye last week, but where they have problems offensively. It was tough that St. Brown, one of the spotters, basically threw him out of the game. Basically what happened, the concussion thing's maybe getting out of control. Unless he was concussed, then I guess it works out. So I guess we just really don't know anymore. But, they just couldn't get enough going. Goff can't get much going. It shows how good the Cowboys' pass rush is because they got after Goff a ton in this game when they have a pretty good offensive line over there. DeMarcus Lawrence was key. Micah Parsons was key. A lot of these, Sam Williams, the rookie, a lot of these guys just really got after. They had really good games. Diggs, lockdown, of course. This is the Cowboys defense. They started a little slow on offense. It was kind of like, they can't get much going with Dak. There was actually more pressure on Dak than what, minus last week. The Eagles got after Cooper Rush, but all the other games was like, man, this Cowboys offensive line, even though missing some guys from last year, is playing pretty good. Like Rush, it mainly was Rush getting the ball out very quick, but they weren't allowing much pressure up until that Eagles game. And this week was they were allowing more than expected against the Detroit Lions. It wasn't like the Eagles game, but it was definitely more than expected. So it's like, is Dak not getting the ball out quick enough? Is the offensive line starting to kind of come back down to earth a little bit, kind of questioning in a little bit there. But, then they end up kind of figuring things out. They got the running backs going. Pollard probably could have got the ball a little bit more. I think we've been saying that since he's been in the league. But, they got going. It's weird to see not Gallup getting going, though. But, mainly a defensive win here, but they kind of kicked in the gear a little bit offensively in the end. So, another win for the Cowboys. Good one after the loss to the Eagles there. And we're going on to the next game. Colts and Titans. The Titans win without scoring an offensive touchdown. So there's that. And give credit to their defense. Their defense is pretty damn good. Their defense was really good at the end of last year. I was calling it, the way things ended, I was calling it the best defense in football. I think them and the Niners were up there, the Bengals, the Rams, those teams were up there. And then the start of this year, the Titans defense kind of didn't really look right. And then there were some injuries. Obviously, Landry didn't play at all because he's out for the season. But then just didn't look right the first couple games. But the last few games, it's kind of looked back like that really good Titans defense. It's been pretty damn stout, and they have been some injuries in there too. But they got like Bud Dupree back in there this week, which was huge. Hooker as well. Andrew Adams had that big pick six. Defense just made some big plays. They're really tight in coverage while getting pressure. It's kind of the difference last week. The Jags got pressure, but they weren't tight in coverage on the Colts. So the Colts threw 58 times or whatever, and guys were kind of getting open early because the coverage wasn't tight, and then boom, so that made the pressure kind of meaningless there. But the Titans were kind of doing both. So credit to their defense. Simmons kind of collapsing pockets from the inside. Derrick Henry running very well. The offense didn't really do anything, but Derrick Henry ran well. He extended drives. He controlled the clock, broke some tackles, made some big plays, iced the game at the end. So, they didn't have much offense going, but they had Derrick Henry going. They tried to choke it a little bit, that some kind of end around to Malik Willis. I don't know if he was going to keep it or if he was going to throw it. But he tried to accept the handoff with his fingertips, which is no, so that's why it fumbled. So a little too creative, just kind of run that to. They really, really want to run that to a Traylon Burks, but he's not in, obviously. But Tannehill went down. I thought it was going to be bad, too. I thought, Malik Willis going to play. I thought Tannehill was going to be done. Maybe it was going to be serious, but he actually came back in. So that was good news for the Titans as well. The Colts didn't run the ball nearly enough. They were playing from behind, but still, they were kind of in this game. Like, it was close. The Titans didn't have a single offensive touchdown. They were Matt Ryan was forced to force things. Maybe trying to limit Taylor in a way, but if they really need to limit him because of injury, then he shouldn't be playing. He's playing. So 10 carries, just not enough. He was pretty effective against the Titans. I think the Colts kind of look at the game plan and they go, Titans stopped the run pretty damn well. I look at the matchup, I should say. They stopped the run pretty damn well, so we can't really. I think there's too many teams, coaches that are kind of deciding on things pregame based on the matchup and hesitating to kind of go away from it a little bit. But Reich, I thought, adjusted very well last week against the Jaguars. I thought he coached a hell of a game against the Jaguars last week, so this was a tough one, though. But yeah, Matt Ryan just making too many mistakes. The Adams pick six was bad because it was a pick six, but it wasn't like the worst throw. Something with the receiver happened there as well, but they had another interception that was pretty bad, obviously. But you're just trying to force things, just throwing too many times. I think he had like 44 attempts, just too many times there. So I would like for the Colts like I said in the beginning of this video, there's teams that they're not running the ball enough. They're abandoning the run too easy, and they're losing games. Here's another one. With the Colts here, but the Titans get the job done. But they got to get a little bit more offense rolling, even though they won. But the defense looking very impressive. Packers and the Commanders. Packers, another team that I've been saying every single week that are not running the ball enough. The difference is the past few weeks they've been effective on the ground and they just stopped running. They're insisting on the pass, and they would literally would have won the game if they won some games if they would have ran the football. But this week, they weren't too effective on the ground, but it's still a problem. They didn't run the ball enough. They abandoned it too easy. They're like, okay, it's not. We've seen a few carries. It's not working. I kind of want to see how many carries. It was very low. Single digits for both their stud running backs, I might add. Aaron Jones, 8 carries. A.J. Dillon, 4 carries. They only average. Well, Dillon was 3.8 average, so that doesn't really tell you much. But it's like Packers see a couple carries, like, nope, we can't run the ball. We're only going to pass. Hey, Commanders, we're only going to pass. That's basically what you're doing. We're only going to pass the ball. We're one-dimensional. So go ahead and, call your defense based on the pass. We know what type of pass game we run with Aaron Rodgers, too. So I just make it real simple for you guys. That's basically what goes down there. And it was still a winnable game for the Packers. And they started off controlling this game, in the first half especially. But Heineke clutched up in the end. McLaurin was making some clutch plays. That touchdown on the sideline was a great throw, great grab. They had a clutch play to kind of ice the game towards the end. Heineke kind of threw it up for grabs in a way, but it was still like a good throw at the same time. It was a tough one. But that ball, I thought Alexander could have made a play on that ball. I don't know what he was doing. The way he turned around and jumped too early, the way he attacked that ball just did not seem like a Jair Alexander type play. I don't expect him to see that. And he has not been right either, it feels like. Gave up that touchdown against McLaurin too. Gave up that play against McLaurin. Just doing a little bit too much kind of chasing, even though he's not really. Usually when you say that, guys are kind of getting torched. He's not really getting burnt, but he's acting more like he's on the guy's hip, like McLaurin. He's on his hip, but he's acting like he's still got to track him down, chase him down while the ball's arriving. Get your hips turned, get your head around. Simple stuff here that he's in position to do, and he's not really doing. So I find that a little strange. But So the Packers defense, again, it just seems like, I know they're constantly on the field because of the offense, but I thought this could be a top 5, maybe top 3. Some people were calling a top 1 defense coming into this year, predicting wise, and they just have not been that. Not that they've been terrible, but in important situations, they have not been great. But the offense is definitely letting them down. Let me see Rodgers saying, what the F are we doing here? They're just not on the same page. There's receivers running the wrong routes. There's a lot of drops. Rodgers got to play better himself. But, just the running the ball thing's the main thing. Like, they're either not, like, it's working and they're not doing enough, or they're abandoning it too early. Like, you can't give up on stuff like that, If you're a team, if like, you're dominant in the passing game, like, if for sure, like, no question, you're going to be super effective through the air, you're going to win the game through the air, and the run game's not working, like, okay, sure, okay, but it's not the case. It's just not the case. But the Commanders clutch up. They make some clutch plays. Heineke escaping sacks, escaping pressure, making plays with his legs, throwing on the run, just making clutch plays. It just seems like, he's better than Wentz. That's what it looked like here in a game like this. He started off, Devondre Campbell, keep that in mind, too. Devondre Campbell had a pick 6 in this game, so less offense from the Packers even, but that was a really good play by Campbell. But, some plays like that from Heineke were not great. But they had, I'm trying to remember. They had, Packers actually got another, was it a pick 6? I think it got called back I think Stokes got called for illegal contact, which was questionable one. So I guess that could have changed the game. The play before, I want another look at the play before, now I'm remembering. Gibson had a run, and it looked like he actually never touched the ground, and he was gone. But the refs blew the whistle, like, after he was, like, going. So was that a makeup call to play later? Did they realize they were going to, they messed up? I don't know. That's kind of what it looked like to me, but I didn't really get enough replays on those. But that actually could have been a major part in this game. But the Packers really just aren't doing enough. The Commanders clutched up in the end, and it was an impressive win. Give credit to their defense, though. It's been better. Early in the year, it was like, is this the worst defense in football? And it kind of looked like that. But they most certainly are not. And they kind of figured some things out, and they're going to need Chase Young back, too. That could be huge. So that's 2 in a row for the Commanders. Impressive win here. Bucks and Panthers, can't believe this happened. The Bucks did lose to the Steelers last week, but the Panthers looking like the worst team in football go and beat the Bucks. Not only beat the Bucks, beat them 21-3. And the Bucks, once another one of those teams. I know they have not been effective running the ball like at all this season, but they abandoned it too early. They abandoned it way too easy, way too early. Rachaad White actually looked like he was getting some things going, and they kind of just didn't want to do that. Like, they were, even though it was 21-3, they were in this game. And when they kicked that field goal, they probably should have went on 4, but they were in that. They kicked that field goal, and that was late in the game. They kicked that field goal because they were still in the game, right? If they would, I guess hindsight, you probably should have went for it because they just moments later they were getting their ass beat, but. Yeah, they were in that game. So my point is, when you're in the game, you should be running the ball a little bit more. You should try to be figuring out how to run the ball more effectively instead of not abandoning it. You're having Brady throw a shit ton of times a game. Offensive line's not protecting him super well. Receivers aren't getting the best separation. They're not catching the ball. That Mike Evans drop to start the game was a killer. That was brutal. But there's some tough catches too. There's some catches where it's like, I don't want to call it a flat-out drop like the Mike Evans one. I'm saying that one's a flat-out drop. There's other ones in the game that I don't want to call a flat-out drop, but at the same time, it's like you need to be wide open and Brady to just put it in there for you to want to catch the ball there. So that's kind of an issue as well. So they've been a little underwhelming in every department, and Brady's a little off as well. Fortunate he wasn't picked at one point, but yeah, they got to figure out how to get the run. They had a 4th down where they got the ball outside. Stupid play call. It's just, I don't know what's going on. I know they're interior blocking. They're not trusting a lot at all because it hasn't been good, but it's weird with the Bucs. What's happening? You can sit here and explain, they can't really run the ball. The interior blocking's not good. The protection for Brady's not good. Brady's maybe not as good as he was. He definitely isn't as good as he was last year. The receivers aren't as good. They're not getting as much separation. They're not catching the ball unless it's a pearl. So you can sit there and say, these are the problems, but it's at the same time, I keep wanting to say, what the hell is happening? Why are these such problems? Why can't they adjust? Why can't they figure out against the Steelers and the Panthers of all teams? So it's weird. It's just super weird. I can figure out what's going wrong, but I can't really figure out why it's going wrong. So it's a little it's a little frustrating. I'm not a Bucs fan. It's a little frustrating at the same time, So credit to the Panthers, man. They look good. P.J. Walker is the best quarterback play they had all year. Maybe not saying much, but he had some good plays. It's good to see DJ Moore getting going. Credit Walker for that. The running backs got going without McCaffrey. Hubbard was running well. Foreman was running really well. Foreman's very underrated. He looked really good for the Titans at the end of last year. In the playoffs too. So he can run. That's another thing. What the hell is with the Bucs run defense? This is a consistently elite run-stopping defense every single year, and they got the same guys besides Ndamukong Suh, which is a helpful piece, but he's not going to make or break. He's not going to make your run defense go from here, even though it looks like it, go from up here to down here, but I don't know what's happening there. The Panthers, and I guess it helped the Panthers got some daggers, some shots down the field to kind of make the Bucs think, okay, I guess we got to worry about that. But going into the game, it's the Panthers are dink and dunk. They're going to run the football, so you really should stack the box and not allow that run, what happened to happen. But again, the Panthers have been able to stretch the field a little bit, helped for sure. So Panthers win. Did they want to win? They want to be in the driver's seat for that first overall pick maybe, and they're trading players away. Do they, we know they're not going to trade guys like Brian Burns, DJ Moore. Do they trade, Brian Burns had a really good game, by the way. Shaq Thompson had a pretty good game too. Do they trade him away? Now that the NFC South is the leader is 3-4 and it's up for grabs, and it's hey, we just beat the team that was in the lead here. Weird situation. We'll see what happens. Trade deadline approaches. We'll have plenty of videos. Giants and Jags. The Jags were this close to winning this game. This close. And I'm not even talking about that last play. You could be talking about the last play because he was really this close, maybe a little bit more that close. Christian Kirk, that last play, wish he would have waited to throw it a split second later. But actually that close, but I'm talking about the game in general, and we can kind of go back to that 4th and I'd say centimeters at the 20-yard line. That was a massive point in this game for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Giants, because the Jaguars were working the field once again. It's pretty pathetic they only had 17 points in this game because they worked the field the whole game. They really did. But they worked the field. It felt like a scoring drive for sure. And they couldn't get a centimeter. Credit to the Giants' defense. The defense did not play well in this game. They could not stop the run. The Jaguars were moving the football down the field, but they credit on that play, clutch play right there. I did think they got the first before that, but some bad spots and whatever, but the Jaguars still got to execute on that 4th down. But if the Jaguars get that and they go what it looked like they were, you never know, they were going to go score, I think the game actually would have been put away, so everything else that happened wouldn't have happened. So the Jaguars were that close, and I'm not even talking about the last play again, to winning that game. This is one the Jaguars should win. They've had it multiple times during this year like that. In the Commanders game, they probably should have won. The Colts game, they should have won last week. But this one, I think they outplayed the Giants in this game. Watching this game, they were constantly moving the ball. The Giants could not stop the run. The Jaguars abandoned the run for some reason. ETN was 14 for 114. He was having a day. I know he fumbled once, which was crucial too. He just holding that ball so loose. It was a really good run, but he was kind of holding the ball down here. It's anything would have knocked that ball out, goes into the end zone. They were about to score on that play as well. James Robinson didn't get a carry. Hasty had a good game last week. He gets 1 carry for 6 yards in this game, and 6 yards is pretty good. You had the lead for most of this game. You're trying to convert short yardage first downs. You're trying to run more clock, run the damn football. You shouldn't have Trevor Lawrence throwing this many times. This game, you could say if they didn't fumble, if they could have got a centimeter, inches, whatever it was, not on the last play talking about that, but that too, they could have won the game. But I think if they just ran the ball a few more times, they would have won this game. It was just a matter of that. The Giants are really struggling to stop the run this year. You wouldn't really know it by their record. They are really struggling. By the way overall their defense is playing, they are giving up a lot on the ground this year, and the team's just going away from it. So it's a little weird. Got to rip the Jags. Another team not running the ball enough there. So the Jags let get away. The Giants just find ways. They're 6-1. They're playing much better than expected football. They're a very well coached football team. They find ways. The best thing the Giants did in this game was offensively they didn't really do much until kind of the end. They got going, Saquon on the ground, Daniel Jones on the ground to kind of ice the game, get themselves in good field position and control the clock. Both the Jaguars were running out of timeouts too. both those things were just that's kind of what won the game, besides getting a stop on the fourth and just in centimeters. And the defense clutched up in moments like that, but they really got beat most of this game. That's why they were giving up a lot of yards. The Jags were working the field. The Giants didn't have much of a passing game because they're kind of short on receivers. And the run game really didn't get going until like late when they were trying to control more clock, which is massive. But most of this game, it felt like the Giants didn't really have enough of anything, and they still won the game. So I guess you can credit them that way. But I think that's where people say, where people maybe a little doubt the Giants a little bit, and because can that keep up if they don't really have enough going for them for a stretch of most of the game, but they find a way to beat the Jags, teams like that, So I think that's probably why. They continue to win, so winning is winning, But I'm just assuming that's probably why. And fans probably call people haters because they don't believe in the Giants. But you want to see a team be consistently good on the football field. I didn't think they looked that great in this game. I thought they looked pretty good at the end, kind of icing the game. But Barkley going wild. But they found a way to win. That's what it comes down to here. So they're 6-1, which is crazy. They'll play the Seahawks next, which the Seahawks are very impressive too. So that should be a pretty good game. Jags continue to lose games they shouldn't lose. This was probably the worst one. Like there's no way. The way they move that ball, how easily they move that ball, 17 points. There's no way. There's no way you should only had 17 there. Some questionable roughing the passers in this one, too. But on to the next game, the Browns and the Ravens. We talk about it every week. The Browns have been one of those teams that aren't running the football enough. Like I keep saying every week in this video, like why is Brissett having more throws than Chubb has runs, or the Browns do runs. And it kind of was the case. I know they were trying to come back in this game. So that could be why. It's not the end of the world. It wasn't that much of a difference. But Chubb was running so well, and you kind of were back in this game. They should have ran Chubb more. I just putting the game in Brissett's hands. It's just not. It hasn't been going great. That's kind of just going back to going into this year. People are like, "Oh, the Browns got a really good roster." I'm like, they do, but they say, the Browns got a really good roster, so I think Brissett can do just fine with it. And that's where I was a little like we seen Brissett, like he's not a terrible quarterback, but he's got experience. But what does the experience show you? The experience showed you when he had opportunities to go start, he couldn't close out games. He couldn't find ways to win games. It was kind of did the same rodeo with the Colts. Back when Andrew Luck retired, like I had the Colts predicted to do well. Then that year, then Luck retires, and I'm like, no, they're not going to do well. And then people were like, why? Why are you changing it that much? They got a good roster. I'm like, it's just a major drop-off. We got a guy that's just unproven to be able to close out games, and that ended up being the case, and it's kind of the same thing this year. You just can't find ways to win games here, just don't have enough, right? He got sacked quite a bit in this game. They threw him off. It was a very well-coached defensive game from McDonald and the Ravens there with different type of blitzes. Patrick Queen was everywhere in this game, too. This was one of Patrick Queen, because he's been a little underwhelming. He's had some games here and there throughout his career, but this was one of his better games. He was everywhere. He had 2 just beastly run stops in a row at one point in this game. The Browns were backed up. So, yeah, I thought he was everywhere. Kyle Hamilton got a sack, a rookie safety. Geno Stone having a good game. Just overall, defensively, the defense is starting to click. They're starting to figure things out, and you start to see why, they're adjusting things this way like they did from the past to now here, how they ran the defense. But, the Browns had opportunities in the end. Ravens, had that fumble. They kind of felt like they were going to put the game away, had that fumble. I think it was Justice Hill, and then the Browns were kind of back in this game. The Ravens defense clutching up again. Browns just not doing enough. Brissett just not having enough. Wish they would run the ball a little bit more, trust Chubb a little bit more because he's been absolutely dominant. They could have won the game if they did that. So that's pretty much what I got. But, yeah, it's weird seeing the Ravens. I think they got 5 sacks. They got Brissett 5 times. I know, again, well-coached defensive game. Dialed up some blitzes, but it's kind of weird seeing them get that many sacks. So that was huge there. Lamar didn't play another good, not another good game from Lamar. I don't say words no good apparently. But yeah, Lamar a little off again this week. I thought, kind of holding the ball too long. And the receivers aren't getting separation. I don't know how the Ravens don't realize they need a receiver every year, but Lamar, yeah, kind of needs to. I was surprised that he was sitting back there holding the ball the way he was doing, but it wasn't super effective. As effective as we thought. I thought he was going to have a monster game in this one. I really did. So hopefully, and they still won, but hopefully he kind of can snap out of it there. And Gus Edwards, almost forgot to mention Gus Edwards. I knew he was coming back, but didn't expect him to be that involved right away. And just see the trust level of him over Dobbins. I think, I know Dobbins has been beat up. Can you trust him to stay healthy? But I think Edwards is better, playing simple. I know everyone likes the idea of the upside of Dobbins, but it's good to see Gus Edwards kind of getting going there. So the Ravens kind of do the opposite of teams. Seems like the Browns. Like, they actually ran to win the game. They didn't even have to pass much or effectively at all. Jets and Broncos. Yeah, this game kind of went how I thought it would go. I was saying very low-scoring defensive game. It's going to be about which quarterback takes care of the ball, which one doesn't. In my score prediction, I predicted the Broncos 16-13, and then they announced Russ was out, and if you follow us on Twitter, I made a post here on YouTube. I made a post on the score predictions video that I switched my pick because Russ was out to 17-13 Jets, so I was kind of staying in that ballpark, and that's kind of where the game finished as well. And that's kind of how the game went, like two really good defenses, two stout defenses, and I said it was very, very important for Zach Wilson to take care of the ball. He tried to not take care of the ball, but he took care of the ball, and then Brett Rippon threw the interception. It was a bad one too, and that was the difference. That's literally the difference there. If Rippon takes the Broncos, this is a weird game because I thought the Broncos. There was a good portion of this game where I'm like it was 7-6. And I'm like, the Broncos are outplaying the Jets in this game. The Broncos are outplaying the Jets. And it was like 3/4 maybe, almost. They were moving the ball way better than the Jets. The Jets were kind of just had that big, just one chunk play from Breece Hall, who unfortunately now is going to be out for the season, but heck of a ball player there. That's all the Jets kind of had going, and it felt like both defenses were playing equally as good, and the Broncos were actually able to get play-by-play move down the field, and then credit to the Jets' red zone defense there clutching up. But there was a good portion of the game where I actually thought the Broncos were outplaying them, and the interception happened, and then Wilson takes care of the ball, and the Jets kind of it kind of flipped. The Jets were kind of able to march down the field a little bit, and then continue to play really good defense. But that kind of how the game went. I will say if Russell Wilson played this game, he has not been good at all this year, but I think the Broncos definitely would have won. I felt pretty good about my 16-13 prediction if Russell Wilson was playing in this game. But you can say if Breece Hall didn't go down, I know Elijah Vera-Tucker went down at one point as well, but Breece Hall is like the main point of the Jets offense, the main guy. If he didn't go down, the Jets probably have more offense because he's kind of their offense at the same time. So you can't just say Russell Wilson, but I did want to mention that. I feel very confident if Russell Wilson played, the Broncos would have won. So, the Jets find a way to win another one. That defense is very impressive, very tight in coverage. Broncos had some opportunities at the end. People the Sutton one was big. It was a 4th down. It was Sauce versus Sutton, 1-on-1. Good battle, physical. They both had a hand on each other. And right at the end, I thought Sauce kind of maybe grabbed him a little bit while Sutton wasn't touching him there. So that's a tough one. I could understand if people were like, they probably should have cut. It's one of those ones where the refs have a tough job, and I know it. So either way they call it, I wouldn't really have a problem. I complain at the refs quite a bit. Even if it's my team, not my team, whatever it is, like I just see a bad call or a question, like one that's a head scratcher, one that I can't explain. But that one's a tough situation, and I can explain the call either way. Like if I was a ref, I probably don't throw the flag because I'm more of a fan of just playing ball. I see contact on both sides overall. Cornerback's a very hard position to play. Sutton had a shot to make the play. Sauce made a great play. It's just one of those, like, bang, bang, both being physical, two really good players. Let it go. But if they would have called on Sauce, because I think he did a little bit more extra than what Sutton did, I would have looked at it and be like, yeah, that's kind of what happened. So I guess I can understand the refs thinking there. So it was kind of one of those where it's almost for most people watching out there, it's kind of a lose-lose for the refs, no matter what you call. But to me, I think it's a win-win for the refs because I wouldn't be. I don't think the refs are in the wrong calling out either way. So again, if I was the official, I probably would have done the same thing. I probably would have let them play. Maybe it looks a little different on the field, but the Broncos had some opportunities there at the end there, but Rippon couldn't get it done. Defensive game. I love both these defenses. The Broncos defense is really good, despite their record. That's why it hurts. I'm not a Broncos fan. It kind of stings a little bit, though. Like, it's like the Broncos defense is so good. Like, if they had an offense, they would be so damn good. And then that's where it stings. Like, they're supposed to have an offense. Like, why don't they have an offense? Like, it hurts a little bit there. So We'll see. The Jags in London, they're confident with Russell Wilson playing the Jags. Like, the Jags play pretty good football for the most part during the game, but then choke in the end. The Broncos kind of choking away as well, so I guess that's going to be an interesting game. Texans and Raiders. I thought this was maybe a little closer than what the score showed as well. I mean, 18-point win. Like, there was a part of this game where I'm like, are the Texans going to win this game? Like, it was kind of like a little bit of part of this game here, but the Raiders figured something out there. Josh Jacobs has been a machine. He was a machine in this game. The Texans struggle to stop the run, and that's a huge reason why the Raiders win. A little bit of a scare with Derek Carr at one point, but they find a way. They make explosive plays. They find a way. They made plays on defense. I predicted 30-20 Raiders, and it really looked like it was going to finish 31-20, so it was going to be 1 point off, and then Deron Harmon had to go get that pick six. So I think I was a little bummed. It was a really good play by Harmon. I love seeing really good plays, so not bummed too much there. But he jumped that. Looked like a young guy. He's been in the league for quite a bit, just the way he jumped that. But yeah, Davis Mills was having a pretty good game, but then plays like that happen, and that's one play, but it's such a massive play. It's a massive play for his career, actually, which people don't realize, because you start to question, because what people think about quarterbacks, what does it take to play quarterback? And I think most people go out there and say, can you throw the ball? And accuracy is a big thing, but can you throw the ball at the right team? Can you make big plays? Can you throw the ball downfield? And a lot of it, maybe, can you escape pressure? But I think there's a lot more into it. I know there's a lot more into it than that. And a big thing, I think, is understanding defenses, reading coverages. And that's, that one play kind of makes me doubt Davis Mills a little bit. It's kind of like he sees a receiver open. I don't know if it was just, it could be one of two things. Either a red man coverage there, which it wasn't. It was cover 4. I can see from my couch in 2 seconds into the play that it was cover 4. I was literally yelling it at my TV. One of my favorite things to do is try to read coverages. It's a weird thing, but so I don't know, I don't know if he thought it was man, and just thought he had a guy open, or I don't know. It very well could have been he just dropped back and he's just not reading the defense at all. He's like, I see a guy open, I'm going to throw it. No account for the safety, Deron Harmon there, who is just sitting in his coverage waiting to jump the ball. So that's a kind of like a red flag to me. It's like, can he? I know he's very young still, just getting going, not a whole lot of starts on her, but can he figure out? Can he do more than just pitch and catch? That's what it looks like. That some of these quarterbacks, can they do more than pitch and throw a little bit of? That's a bad way to say it, but just throw to the receiver. Just throw, just pitch. Can you do more? Can you read? Can you make splash plays in impact moments, in big moments, clutch moments? Because he's had some the bad moments have come at the end of games too. So that's the few things I'm still looking out for Davis Mills. It's tough because you used to be able to get years and years to be able to figure it out, and some guys are Hall of Famers because they're able to do that. And now these days you don't have much time to figure it out, because it's mainly because other guys are figuring out the second they play. So there's just, the talent's just ridiculous these days, and there's a lot of it out there. So teams are going, hey, we're going to go get that guy that we think is talented right now, that talented. So the Texans could be in the market for a quarterback still for sure, and they have 2 first-round picks. The Raiders, Jacob's been ridiculous. Some explosive plays down the stretch of this game for the Raiders. Get the job done. Can they figure it out now? This game was close for a little bit, a little scary for them for a little bit, but big game against the Saints next week. Seahawks and Chargers, man, the Seahawks are a good football. They're good. They're 4-3. Something I noticed. It's a strange year. Everyone knows it's a strange year, but there's a lot of teams where it's like you go through their records, and I don't know if anybody's team matches their record. Like, I don't know. Like, it feels like they're either better or worse. It's usually like 5 teams like this at this point. There's like a lot of the league, but the Seahawks most definitely feel like a much better team than their record shows, which is 4-3 at the top of the NFC West. Though they look good. They look good. If they feel like they're a better team than what their record is, really do. Like, they're starting to get a little bit better on defense. Look at the last 2 weeks. Disguising some coverages maybe. The young guys starting to adapt. Jumping routes, making plays, getting after the quarterback maybe a little bit more, they can do a little bit more. But so defense looks like it's improving, but the offense looks so good too. It's a killer that DK. It was so sad to see that DK went down, because they could use DK, even though good guys like Goodwin stepping up is good to see. Geno is playing out of his mind right now. I mean, it's not There's some fluky things that happen. Some fluky things that happen for a stretch of a season. We see it every year. It just doesn't look like that to me. It looks like Geno Smith is really good at football. Like he's reading defenses. He's going. Not only is he going through his reads, his options, he's going through them like this. That's the big thing. That is the major. I think it was the first Godwin touchdown. It was like a robot, and then he realized, okay, Goodwin. You should say Goodwin. I think I'm saying Godwin. Goodwin, Marquise Goodwin. He's got one-on-one over here. He's going to be open in the back. Boom. I'm going to give you a good ball there. So, and he got him a really good ball on the next one as well, his next touchdown. So he stepped up big. But Geno's been fantastic. I do think there's some moments, if I had to nitpick, there's some moments under pressure where, maybe he can get the ball out a little bit. But the Chargers blitz. They blitz quite a bit. He beat it up there. And then Kenneth Walker had himself a day. He's been fantastic. And the Chargers run defense is definitely still not good. I try to tell people that. But the Seahawks beat it up. They beat you through the air. They beat you on the ground. They beat you with. There's not too many teams that are consistently beating you with both. Think about that. There's teams that are abandoning the run and losing with the pass. There's teams that vice versa. There's teams that are winning, but they're kind of winning with one thing because they're just a really good team. They're that good maybe, or maybe they're good on defense. The Seahawks are winning with both parts of their offense, with both the pass and run. I love that about them. A lot of guys playing a lot better than expected. The rookie class is looking great. Again, the defense getting better is just a fantastic look right now. They gave problems to the Chargers. They gave problems to the Cardinals last week. They play the Giants this upcoming week. The Giants are going to it's a little bit different of a battle. I know the Giants aren't as good on offense as the Chargers, but they run the ball so well, and they run the clock well. So that's going to be a different challenge for the Seahawks. That's where they have to game plan for, and they play a tougher defense. But they run some similar concepts as the Chargers. The Giants' defense, it's better, but they run a lot of man coverage, a lot of blitzing. So we'll see if Geno and the boys can do it again. I'm very excited about that. The Chargers, it's another one of those teams I thought could have ran the ball more, but they were down most of this game, so I kind of give them a little bit of a pass. But at one point it was 17-14. They came back. They were down by 3. The Seahawks figured something out in the pass. The Chargers got very predictable. That's why Herbert didn't look super great, because it got super predictable. It's very tough to play quarterback when that's the case, so I thought they could have ran the ball a little bit more, but it was tough to do that because they were playing from down. But there's so many injuries on the Chargers too. Now J.C. Jackson, now Mike Williams. It's just brutal. So that's tough. The Seahawks look like a legit team. They look legit. It's one of those. It's just they're presenting it on the field to me, which is big in my power rankings. The record definitely matters. Winning and losing is kind of the most important thing. But the Seahawks, a big fan of what they're showing me on the field. So it's just huge. Chiefs and Niners for a little bit in this game. The very beginning, it looked like the Niners were going to just not blow them out of the water, but they were going to beat them, it felt like. But the Chiefs adjusted pretty quickly on the fly. They figured some things out there, and they really got going. I know the 49ers are very beat up, but scoring 44 points, the Chiefs putting up 44 points on the 49ers defense is impressive. And it's crazy the Chiefs offense is still able to impress people, but and they don't really have to run the ball. It's one of those teams you give a pass to. They don't really run the ball. They kind of do it in unexpected moments. There's that good throwing the football. And their defense has been pretty damn solid this year, making plays. They got after Garoppolo. They got after him quite a bit. Chris Jones, Frank Clark. Frank Clark torched Trent Williams, the best in football. I know he's coming back from injury, but the best in football. Torched him off the edge for a sack and a safety. Garoppolo's got to have better awareness, got to get rid of the damn ball. But, monster play by Frank Clark. Guys flying around making plays, both sides of the ball. Good to see Hardman getting going. He had a monster game, 3 touchdowns. Good to see, Edwards-Helaire, Pacheco, these guys getting involved. Juju, there's a portion to this year. It's like, hey, maybe Juju is not good. Like, where is he right now? But then last few weeks, he's been tearing it up. Really good after the catch. Valdes-Scantling hit a deep ball. They hit a deep ball to him. That was a crucial moment, too, because I felt like the 49ers were trying to, they're kind of staying in it a little bit. Just making big-time plays there on both sides of the ball. Like I said, they're flying around the field on both sides of the ball. Love to see it. Niners, Jimmy, rough go last couple weeks, I thought. Turnover, the red zone interception was pretty brutal, taking that safety. He was playing pretty good football before that, I thought, too. And the first game starting, the Broncos game wasn't good, but then a stretch of a few good games there. The 49ers are 3-4. Seahawks lead that division. 49ers are still very capable. I think they're capable of being the best team in the NFC. I really think that. But they got to get healthy, and they got to play a lot better still. So they still got to go out and actually do that. But I think they are capable. They just got to figure it out. But yeah, tough one against Chiefs. They play another tough one against the Rams. They usually have the Rams number, obviously, but it's in LA. Rams off the bye. That should be a pretty good game there. So hopefully they can figure something out. But and then the Sunday night game, I think the difference in this one was we actually just mentioned it for some reason, for different reasons. 49ers Broncos. They played each other, and it kind of reminded this game. In a way, you'll see my point. The way the game went, how players played, not really. But what I said, the only difference in that 49ers-Broncos game earlier in the year, which was prime time, it was Sunday night, was one team executed on turnovers and one team did not. Both teams had turnover-worthy plays, the same amount, a lot of them. One team got the turnovers, one team didn't. It was kind of the same thing in this game. Like, Pickett had turnover-worthy plays. The Dolphins executed it, 3 times. Tua had maybe 3 or 4 turnover-worthy plays. The Steelers didn't get one of them. So that was a major difference. Like the Steelers could have won the game if they would have matched the turnover battle there. So the Dolphins winning the turnover battle was the difference. When this game started, I felt like Dolphins were going to whoop the Steelers' ass. They looked really smooth, really good. It's like, okay, it's looking like the first 3-week Dolphins to a team, which is a little bit of a mystery, too. I keep saying it because the Dolphins did look really good then they got injured, and they didn't look good. And I think a lot of people kind of assumed that, as long as they had Tua back, as long as they were healthy, they were going to look like the first 3-week teams. Like, it's a good guess, but what does the first 3 weeks tell us about every single NFL season? It tells us nothing, so you can't really base things off that. So we still have to see the Dolphins, like, in action, what they're about, and it looked really, really good. It looked like they were for real. It looked like that first 3-week team was for real, offense, I should say. But then all of a sudden it kind of got figured out, and they were only getting field goals instead of touchdowns. The Steelers were able to adjust before having a halftime, which credit to them, like kind of adjusting on the fly. So maybe it's a script thing with the Dolphins, like they're only good on the script. Maybe you could game plan for it now because something happened where it went from looking amazing to not good at all. And another team I would like to run the ball a little bit more. I thought Mostert was running extremely tough, and they're insisting on the pass, putting the ball in harm's way while you have the lead. I think I know he's very capable of breaking off some splash runs, some explosive runs, and icing the game, maybe scoring again. So I would have liked, it's been a few times this year where they kind of went away from the run a little bit too easy, and then running Edmonds maybe too much. It just looks like Mostert's just a way better of a runner than Edmonds. Edmonds dropping the ball, too, so I don't know what's going on with him, but Gesicki might have had a drop or two to let one ball hit his face mask instead of catching it, which resulted in field goals. But, yeah, it was kind of weird, just the difference, night and day difference in the Dolphins' offense, the way they started and the way they kind of were. But I would like for them to run the ball a little bit more. Steelers, I would like for them to take more splash plays early on down the field, because everything's kind of dink and dunk. And there's 2 things, though, because it could be – it could be a reason Pickett is turning the ball over on those big plays in the end. It could be because they're not getting him any early, so they're putting him in that tough, desperate situation to have to throw downfield. Or it could be they're not throwing downfield during most of the game because they don't believe in Pickett to do that. They don't want to be out of the game early, so that very well could be it as well. It's either or. But I would like, at this point, got nothing to lose. I wish they can take some more shots early in the game and not wait for desperate times to do it. But Pickett, that's kind of the thing. He's good managing the game underneath, kind of getting the ball out quick, using his legs. But once he has to make a splash play, a downfield play, an important situation, he's not been good. He's thrown to the wrong team. He's throwing balls. There's been some picks he's had quite a few picks. He had 2-3 pick games, but there's been some picks over the picks that have kind of been, not throwing directly to the defense, but have, and maybe it's some people would blame the receivers on some. I'm not a fan of blaming receivers, but at the same time, either way you look at it there, some of these balls should not be thrown the way they're thrown. They should not be thrown, things like that. So, yeah, Pickett's been struggling. I wonder what if Trubisky played in this game because he looked good at the end of that Bucs game. You wonder what would have happened here, but it does make sense to try to see what you got in Pickett, see if you need a quarterback still, see if you can go find a better one, see if he can progress, things like that. So it kind of makes sense to play him, but just didn't have enough, couldn't get the job done. The Dolphins should have made this one a little easier. They made it too interesting there. They had control of this game. They could have done a little bit better. They made plays on defense though. Jalen Phillips was flying around the field. and a lot of backup guys in the secondary. Xavier Howard was locked down, but the other guys that are backups made some big-time plays because they've been really beat up in the secondary, so credit to them. A much-needed win to get back on track there. Steelers were very close to them getting back on track because they won last week. This would have been huge if they won this game. Like, it could have been like, all right, Steelers just going to find a way, again, like they usually do to make the playoffs, but tough one to let get away there. Was winnable. But that's going to wrap up the recap for this week. We're back every Monday with this. We got all kinds of NFL content every single day, so join us for that. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Live updates, news, rumors, talking during live games. We had a Monday night game tonight between the Bears and Patriots. Hopefully you join us for that. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.